Welcome to the Reddit rainforest. Don't forget to grab your hat, open boots. We are heading into the forest for some loot. Today, what was the most ducked up thing you saw in school? Saw a girl stomp on another girl's jaw with her high heel boot for looking at her boyfriend at the next lunch table over. I heard she had to get her jaw wired. I hope she was charged with assault. That is disgusting. ISN, not that closer to attempted murder. Head kicks are no joke. Saw a kid throw a pickleball paddle at a gym teacher. Knocked her unconscious. Blood everywhere. He was suspended for some time. Was an asshole. That's actually really bad. Was she okay? Concussion and stitches. Paddle clocked her right in the forehead. I have a vivid memory of her clutching the padding you see on gym walls as she went down. She was older, so you could tell after that she was a bit uneasy. A guy literally malarkeying on a teacher's desk. What's up? What's up? Crapped on your desk. Dog. Sup with that? Mexican gang member stabbed another Mexican gang member in the neck with a pencil. In class. It was 8th grade. He lived. Jew and wig. My middle school teacher did a thing where we could bring our pets to school. A kid in my class got attacked by a macaw after he tried to grab it off a desk so he could play with it and had to go to the hospital to get stitches. I was suspended and grounded for bringing a macaw to school. A kid hung himself on a playground our senior year. I hear his brother found him. This all happened a week after two of the brother's friends, also seniors, died when they wrapped their classic Mustang around a tree near the HS. Made for a rough senior year to say the least. When I was 8 we were making cookies in class and they gave us square cheese graters to make chocolate chips with because they did not trust us with knives. A fair judgment. Some kid was holding a few graters and pretended to be a robot. This girl shouted at him because he was not a robot and proceeded to take one of the graters and grate his hand. Lots of blood happened and then a pair of twins both fainted. When I was 8 we were making cookies in class and they gave us square cheese graters to make chocolate chips with because they did not trust us with knives. A fair judgment. Some kid was holding a few graters and pretended to be a robot. This girl shouted at him because he was not a robot and proceeded to take one of the graters and grate his hand. Lots of blood happened and then a pair of twins both fainted. I do not recall her getting in trouble at all. Not that I saw anyway. I think it was just put down as an accident. These two kids got into fight at my school. Somewhere during the tussle one kid lost his balance and on the way down threw the meanest uppercut ever. He connected on the other kid's bare teeth and pushed them into his gums. He ducked up his own hand really bad. Blood just everywhere and no teachers in sight for like another 3 minutes. This is some Mortal Kombat X-ray vision malarkey. I was in HS in the 90s. They announced the odd verdict over the PA system. A kid jumped over the balcony to try and beat the rush on mashed potato day. He broke both his legs. Did not get his potatoes. Took me too long to realize mashed potato day is probably just the day your cafeteria serves mashed potatoes and not some kind of big yearly mashed potato event at your school. Two guys in my class would always race to the door when the bell rang and try to get the other one late. One day one of them made it in class with a couple seconds to spare, so he whips around and slams the door closed. I sat in the front of the class at the time and all I see is a pointer finger shoot out from the hinge side of the door and bounce onto one of those metal shelves. The kid began screaming outside the door and my teacher, being the kind lady she was, ran to the door to see what had happened. But before she can get there, I guess she saw the finger and let out a whimper and collapsed to the ground. Mind you, this was a matter of seconds and now everyone in my class was alert. But before anyone could react, the kid runs into the classroom and yells my finger. And sure enough there was only a bloody nub where his pointer finger got cleanly cut off. All I remember after that was the other kid began to panic and get more hysterical than the guy who got his finger cut off. Shock is one hell of a drug, lol. By now, a bunch of other kids were up and yelling outside the hallways for help while I got some tissues for the kid to help the bleeding. In the end the kid went to the and actually got the finger 90% fixed. He says he still can't feel some parts of that finger, but he was fine. The teacher ended up going to the nurse's office and ended up fine. I know she went home for the day, so overall the day was a 6/10. Got less homework. TL. Dr. Kid got his finger cut off and door. Teacher passed out. Both ended up fine. It was a rival football game and the stands were packed. A section of the old wood bleachers collapsed and 20 or so students went to the hospital with numerous broken bones, concussions, and lacerations of various degrees. During the same game, I saw a guy get hit so hard in the leg that it shattered and both bones were showing. poor kid ended up in a wheelchair for the rest of the school year. I know it has nothing to do with your comment, but it reminded me about a classmate who had his leg broken and had to use a wheelchair. An earthquake happened and he was left all alone in the classroom while everyone else evacuated. A kid clipped the tip of his tongue off with a pair of safety scissors after someone dared him to. One of my brother's friends cut the very tip of his nose off cause someone dared him to. Edit, his nose is just a little bit flat at the end as far as I know. I haven't seen him in years, but it was a stupid dare and a funny story to tell now. Maybe it was to spite his face. I was in 9th grade. One of our classmates got drunk, stripped and streaked the lunchroom, gymnasium. Basically any place crowded. The staff was afraid to tackle a naked teenager, so we all got an eyeful. Some girl broke up with a guy, so he smeared his Malarkey on her locker and pissed all over it. What's with all the Malarkey stories in this thread? I want to know too. How did so many people get comfortable handling poop? Middle school. I was chilling in the band room and I look out to the hall to see a kid with some sort of liquid coming out of his eye. Later I found out some kid stabbed his eye with a pencil. Someone had taken a massive Malarkey. It was larger than a coffee cup in width and considerably longer. So large it was impossible to flush. People were lined up into the halls to see this monstrosity, including faculty. You know it's a small town when a turd calls that much attention. Nobody had a poof knife. It's gone. Poof. Someone's phone blew up in our school courtyard. Rest of the day smelled like battery juice. There was a bathroom at my school near the special ed hall that nobody liked to use. The story was that occasionally during 7th period this special ed kid would go into one of the stalls and start loudly jacking off. One day I was in the bathroom taking a Malarkey. 7th period because I'm a dumbass and did not believe it. And this kid walks in and gets into the stall next to mine. He then proceeds to start jacking off and making loud unintelligible noises. Being an avid reader of green text at that time in my life, there was no way in hell I was leaving my stall till he was gone. I waited like 15 minutes of him making post-nut noises before he left, without washing his ducking hands. I was mortified, and I decided to walk a lot longer to the next closest bathroom instead of using that one again. A girl was coming back from a doctor's appointment and was not there to hear that we could not get out equipment for recess. She opened the door, grabbed something and went to leave. The wind kicked up and slammed the door on her hand and she lost a finger. They rushed her to the hospital and they sewed it back on and eventually it was back to normal, but that was the most ducked up thing I had seen. A girl was coming back from a doctor's appointment and was not there to hear that we could not get out equipment for recess. She opened the door, grabbed something and went to leave. The wind kicked up and slammed the door on her hand and she lost a finger. They rushed her to the hospital and they sewed it back on and eventually it was back to normal, but that was the most ducked up thing I had seen. A girl with bulimia tried to shout down a spiral staircase, but because her gag reflex was so weak she vomited from a great height instead. Oh, the splash. A kid in my school year stabbed one of my friends in the back. Not verbally, I mean with an actual kitchen knife. We were 11. When I was 9 someone stabbed another kid in the back with a maths compass. Just randomly with no real motive or logic. In my school there was a kid, or multiple kids, we do not know, who would malarkey in a urinal every once in a while. They were known as the urinal malarketer. Someone made a meme with the Grim Reaper going to the doors template with all the bathrooms they had done it in, and the Reaper going into the last bathroom, the office bathroom. The meme spread very quickly, and I guess some teacher saw it, since there is blood in the meme coming from under all the closed doors. They decided it was a credible threat of violence. They closed the school for 2 days for safety concerns. Just a super weird story all around. Sounds like a case for the Hardy Boys. Some dumbass kid stuck a pair of tweezers in an old outlet that did not even have a circuit breaker, so IDK how he did not die. One of my teachers told a story of the guy that knocked his dick to the ground. He had stuck a fork into an outlet, and it melted his fingers together and knocked him out. Teacher found him just as it was happening. Ike said he'd see him at work sometimes and he'd wave to him. His fingers still fused together. There was a girl I was friends with who had developed early and had pretty big boobs and considered thick for a 5th grader. Hanged with a group of 5 or 6 girls. Most of the girls in this group were short, skinny, and the pretty ones of the class, so she stuck out from that group. During recess these 5 girls ganged up on her and pulled down sometimes ripping her shirt exposing her chest, and laugh cause they thought it was funny. She'd fight it and tell them to stop, but they'd do it even more, sometimes pinning her arms to the side so they could. She ended up hanging out with me more and finding different friends in middle school. Jesus fucking Christ. This is just straight sexual assault. These were her friends and they were pinning her down and pulling her shirt down. Yeah, friends. The troubled kid had a panic attack because of a teacher. I think he had some issues at home. He was quiet, talked to no one. He always fought when people bothered him. He was something. Well, anyways, there was this teacher. She was really strict and got aggravated easily. Let's call her Mrs. Whale. We used to call her that. But she had asked him a question and he refused to answer. His head down looking at his empty paper. The teacher exploded on him, telling him stuff like you will never be anything in life and do your parents even love you. He sat next to me and I saw that he clenched his fists and started to shake. He tried to say something but it all came out to be gibberish because he broke down right there on his desk. No one really knew him, so we did not know what to do. We all just sat there as the teacher kept on insulting him, not caring that he had started to shake. A nearby teacher heard all the commotion and came to check on us and saw it. She calmly talked to the still yelling Mrs. Whale outside as we just awkwardly sat there watching this kid break down. We did nothing. I really wish I would have done something, but I was frozen in place. After Mrs. Whale calmed down, the other teacher helped the kid out to the office. We never saw that kid and Mrs. Whale after that. They said Mrs. Whale had retired early, but I do not think so. A couple ducking in the dumpster behind the cafeteria. For the rest of the year, people would walk up behind the dude crinkling paper and asking if it was getting him hard. Asterisk just to add a bit. 4 or 5 of my friends and I stumbled upon this event while we were coming back on campus, and one of them went to throw his trash away. It got around the school pretty damn fast. It's probably a good thing that I'm old enough that the smartphone was not a thing when I was in high school, because this a good shot that one of the group would have been dumb and taken a picture that included a 17-year-old having sex. Like physically in the dumpster, or just behind it in some sort of enclosure. Inside the dumpster. Inside the dumpster. Some kid kept malarkeying in the sink every week, and they had to keep cleaning it up. One day I walked in the bathroom and someone had put malarkey on the wall. Had some girls in my high school who were creating works of art in the same fashion. They were deemed the fecal phantoms and were never caught. We had the notorious Malarkey swastika smeared on the walls of a stall one day. Never found out who did it. I feel like I may have gone to your school ... or fecal swastikas are more common than it thought, but I choose not to believe that. Mamma Mia Pizzeria, you arrived at the end of video. Now is time for the end wrap. If you are new, you did not expect that. Stay tuned for more gas new videos up fast now. Please leave a like or a man named Mike will steal your bike. Either way, you are still a baller. Comment something down below that will make folks holler. Now goodbye.